Chapter 31, A gift that cannot be given away. Please read and vote for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 31, The gift you can't give back. Keep reading, please vote. Illusion? Nah. It's straight up murderous intent. Scarlet floods his eyes, the tomo spin, and the Sharingan kicks in. Sasuke was shocked, practically paralyzed with fear. He understood, this was an enemy way more terrifying than Zabuza. Sakura froze, wanting to run, on the verge of a total meltdown. But she saw Naruto's back in front of her, and Sasuke beside her. His words from last night echoed in her head. No, you gotta be strong, Star. With a struggle, she raised her hand, gripping her kunai tight. Then, in a heartbeat, steel clashed against steel with a ringing sound, sparks flying, illuminating their pupils. Naruto drew his sword, slashing at the kunai. He was impressed. Damn, this guy's fast. Star, this guy's teleportation was the quickest of any ninja he'd faced. The blade struck again, and at the instant of contact. Path 11, bound with thunder. Golden lightning crackled across the blade. This was his go-to move against taijutsu specialists, but this grass ninja was no ordinary fighter, reacting with insane speed. Just as the lightning was about to hit his hand, snap, his wrist dissolved into a writhing mass of finger-thick snakes. The lightning exploded, burning them to a crisp. The air filled with the acrid smell of cooked snake, but it did absolutely nothing to him. What kind of jutsu is that? The grass ninja recoiled, genuinely surprised. No hand seals. Well, that wasn't unheard of. He could pull off basic stuff like that himself. What was weird was the nature of the technique. He hadn't studied it in detail, but even he could see at a glance it was nothing like standard lightning style. Naruto said nothing. Chakra flared. He closed the distance, swinging his sword. The grass ninja threw a hand seal, initiating a summoning jutsu. Summoning jutsu, serpent. White smoke billowed, and a massive blue-gray python appeared out of thin air, coiling around its master protectively. The snake didn't attack, it just huddled, a living shield. It adjusted its bulk, using its size to keep Naruto at bay. The grass ninja avoided close combat, opting for ninjutsu instead. Physical combat wasn't his forte, and that weird lightning jutsu was extra dangerous up close. No need to ask for trouble. Naruto responded with Kido spells, looking for an opening. Sasuke struggled to keep his eyes open, watching intensely, but even with his double tomo Sharingan blazing, he couldn't fully follow the details of their fight. They were just too damn fast. Suddenly, he felt a shift, a warning, and started to turn to his left. Naruto, making a snap decision, abandoned the Orochi. He raised his left arm, condensing a chakra orb for defense, bracing for the impact of ninjutsu and kunai. He charged to the left without hesitation, and plunged his sword into the ground. The dude in the dirt dodged, popping up. You're decisive, I'll give you that, Kusanagi said, licking his lips, kunai in hand. So eager to protect your friends. Aren't you worried I'm faking you out? Naruto glanced at the gash on his arm, his expression unchanged. I told you before the exam, I'd protect my friends. Besides, you're after the Sharingan. Sasuke clenched his fists, hating his own helplessness. He stared at the bloodstains on Naruto's body, his clothes soaked red, his bloodshot eye seeming to drink it in, making it even more terrifying. You really do look like your old man, Kusanagi sneered. Nine-tailed brat, wanna know who your dad is? Konoha never told you, huh? The answer's gonna blow your mind. The words Kyubi and father hung in the air, forming a tempting, twisted truth. His voice was oily, seductive, just waiting for the blonde kid to bite, but Naruto was unmoved. Mind games to weaken your opponent won't work on me. Any answers I get from you aren't worth a damn, anyway. He raised his blade. You're stronger than me like this. If it keeps going, sooner or later you're going to make it. Give me your name. It's not just respect for me, but also respect for you. You are the first ninja that I've had to use this kind of power against. Kusanagi's eyes widened, disbelief mixed with a strange, expectant glee. You've mastered that power, huh? Sasuke frowned. What does that even mean? Naruto's got even more power he can tap into. Star that he wondered, a chant echoed from Naruto's lips. Rage, pain, fear, degradation. Crimson chakra erupted from his body, an evil, savage aura flooding the air, washing over the entire forest. Sakura couldn't take the pressure, shrinking back. Sasuke was stunned. Asterisk, he can get stronger. Kusanagi licked his lips, greedily eyeing Naruto, now enveloped in Ninetales chakra. He'd seen Uzumaki Kushina use the Ninetales power before, but this was completely different from the way Naruto was doing it. Why the blade? Star. Asterisk, why the incantation? Star. Just like those weird techniques before, this definitely wasn't normal ninja stuff. Asterisk, the secrets this Ninetales Jinchuriki holds are really interesting. Star. His curiosity was piqued. The final words of the chant crashed down. Hear the scream, and bloom. Demon Fox Ninetales. Dark red chakra completely consumed Naruto. He bit down on the dark red blade, turning it into a fourth, thrashing tail. Figured you transform, Kusanagi murmured. But can you even stay sane? Naruto pulled out another sword. You sure know a lot about Konoha ninja, don't you? As he spoke, he closed the distance in an instant. The grass ninja raised his kunai, barely intercepting, but it was useless. The blade was sliced clean through, the cut impossibly smooth, the reflected light an unholy red, transformed into a tailed beast. Naruto's strength, speed, and chakra were amplified tenfold. The attack continued, unceasing. Kusanagi backpedaled, but it was too late. The sword left a deep gash across his chest, and the tailed beast chakra clung to the wound like fire, beginning to burn and corrode him. Damn, the grass ninja said, glancing down at the wound. He threw a hand seal, an unusual one, but it wasn't meant to heal his wound. His neck suddenly stretched, lurching towards Sasuke. Naruto wouldn't let him get away with that. He leaped, slashing with the sword, jamming it between the guy's teeth. He pushed with all his might, forcing the neck back, appearing in a flash directly on top of the guy's body. Naruto twisted his wrist, slashing downwards. The attack landed, smoke erupting in a cloud. Did you get him? Sakura asked, cautiously. Naruto stared into the smoke. The body was broken, half the head shattered, most of the bones crushed, a fatal wound. A normal person would be dead, but this guy's chakra was still fluctuating wildly. One hand peeled the lips away from the mouth, dragging the body, crawling out wetly, like shedding skin. That tailed beast power is a real pain to deal with. Guess there's no point in playing anymore. What a shame, Sasuke. I wanted to give you a gift on behalf of your brother. Sasuke flinched, like he'd been electrocuted. Asterisk brother, star. Asterisk this guy knows him, star. Naruto didn't waste time with words, slashing decisively. The remaining body was split in two, but there was no blood, just writhing masses of tiny snakes pouring out of the corpse. The man's voice echoed from all directions, impossible to pinpoint. That Uchiha brat. If you crave power, if you want revenge against Uchiha Itachi, come find me. Itachi Uchiha's got skills that put me and this little-tailed beast brat to shame. And you, Uzumaki Naruto. You really interest me. If you want to know who your father is, come and see me. I'll answer all your questions. Don't forget my name, now. Orochimaru. Naruto looked around. The man's aura was everywhere, the same spiritual threads vanishing in different directions, moving away at impossible speeds. Asterisk that's a guy who knows how to run for his life, star. Sasuke looked conflicted, still reeling from the name Uchiha Itachi. Sakura stared at Naruto, worried. Naruto, are you okay? Wrapped in dark red chakra, he looked savage, monstrous, barely human. It made her worried and scared. Naruto raised his hand, clenching it over his lower abdomen, grabbing the Ninetales chakra, and pulling it out. I'm fine. The chakra solidified into a sword, which he slowly pulled out and transformed back into his Ninetales form, thanks to Black Sheep under the moon, Poisoned by Faith, and Dragon Emperor of the Gods for their rewards. Keep reading, please vote. Chapter 32 He is glowing, please read and vote for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He sheathed his sword. Naruto was still Naruto, whatever that power was, it hadn't changed him for the worse. Sakura breathed a sigh of relief. Sasuke looked up, his voice intense. Naruto, what was that power you used? And that blade, that he wanted it too. His eyes locked on Naruto's waist. Another blade was there, it looked like it belonged with that crimson one, probably had the same power, maybe even more. Naruto used it when he went all super-powered. Ever hear that rumor about me? Naruto asked, putting his hand on his stomach. Sasuke frowned, confused. Sakura immediately perked up. Is it about you? Naruto nodded, calm as could be. There's a demon fox called the Ninetales sealed inside me. I just used its power. They were speechless. This strength came from a childhood tragedy, comfort. Naruto didn't seem to need it, and the way he said it, Sasuke knew he couldn't be that composed, talking about years of pain so openly. Naruto changed the subject, glancing at a tree. Let's go. That guy's not coming back. Looks like the exams are still on. Hidden in the dense leaves, 2 masked Umbu agents were under his gaze. He spotted us. No surprise. Jinchuriki have a strong sense of perception. That stare is intense. Gives me the creeps even from this distance. Find Red Bean first. Then report this to Lord Hokage. What a mess. The Chunin exams, of all things, and now this. Orochimaru, a major wanted criminal, had sneaked back into the village, but even more concerning was the discovery that the Jinchuriki had secretly gained control of the Ninetales. They'd be tripping over themselves to thank Orochimaru, as without his intrusion they would never have found this information. Beneath the surface, chaos was brewing, but it didn't stop the Chunin exams. The forest of death had become a bloody hunting ground. The strong did what they wanted. The weak had to survive as best they could. 3 grass ninja huddled behind a rock wall. What's taking them so long? One complained, chewing on a piece of grass. We were supposed to meet up inside. Where are those other 3? That he meant the genin from another team in their village. The one next to him frowned. Think they got taken out? Could be. The grass chewer sighed. The others might be okay, but they're screwed if they run into that red-haired kid from the sand village. Forget it. Let's ditch M. Time to change tactics. Waiting around is a waste. Karen. He called out. The red-haired girl answered nervously, why yes. The grass ninja pulled out the scroll with the symbol for heaven on it. Take this. Karen blinked, confused. These 2 were actually entrusting something so important to her. She didn't want it. Nothing good ever came from this. You're the bait, the guy said flatly. Everyone will come after you when they see you alone with the scroll. We'll be waiting to ambush them. It'll be a total success. Karen frowned. What a nice way to say sacrificial lamb. Against weaker teams, maybe she'd just get beat up, but against someone strong, they'd definitely bail on her. Hurry up. The grass ninja snapped, shoving the scroll at her. Karen reluctantly reached out, just as her fingers touched the scroll. That's a little inconvenient. We'll hold on to that. A voice interrupted. Their eyes widened as a flash of gold zipped in. The scroll vanished from the grass ninja's hand. A young kid stood before them, silently taking it. They were shocked. Where'd he come from? He was so fast. Crap, this was way beyond them. They froze, too afraid to move. Right behind Naruto, the other 2 members of Team 7 landed. Sakura looked at Karen. Is that the girl you're looking for? Girl. Was she talking about her? Karen looked at Naruto, red eyes full of confusion. Why would such a strong Konoha ninja be looking for an ordinary grass ninja? What's your name? Naruto asked. Karen answered honestly, Karen. Uzumaki Karen. I knew it. Naruto grinned. My last name's Uzumaki too. Uzumaki Naruto. We're from the same clan. Same clan. But your hair. Karen started, then her eyes widened in fear. Watch out. Her 2 teammates were attacking. They knew they couldn't win a head-on fight, and right now, this blonde kid had his back turned to them. He was way too cocky. Did he really think so little of them? One of them grabbed a kunai, jumped, and stabbed toward Naruto's throat with everything he had. You arrogant brat, die. But the kunai stopped dead inches away from the boy's skin. it was blocked by a single finger. A tiny ball of concentrated chakra at the fingertip was so strong that the kunai couldn't pierce it. Binding Art Number 8, Repulsion. A technique to block physical attacks. It's rude to interrupt a family reunion. Naruto tossed the scroll to Sakura, raised his left hand, and pointed at the grass ninja's forehead. Behave yourself. The technique was used simultaneously. Binding Art Number 1, Block. The grass ninja lost control of his arms, which twisted behind his back. He fell to the ground, terrified. Sasuke instantly pinned down the other grass ninja. With those two taken care of, Naruto looked back at Karen. What's wrong with my hair? The Uzumaki clan usually has red hair, Karen said, glancing fearfully at her two teammates. But yours is blonde. Naruto patiently replied, my hair's the same color as my dad's. So, your mother's hair was red? Must have been beautiful. Even knowing Naruto was just complimenting her hair, Karen's face flushed. She was about to say something when Naruto's voice dropped. What's wrong with your hand? He'd noticed Karen's hand was covered in bite marks, old and new. It was obvious she hadn't done it herself. Naruto, you're from Konoha, Karen said, looking at the hidden leaf insignia on his arm. It's different from Kyuzugaku. She paused, then started to explain her experience. After the fall of the Hidden Eddy village, the Uzumaki clan lost their home. The survivors scattered, and Karen's mother had taken her to Hidden Grass. The Uzumaki's bodies were the reason Hidden Grass had accepted them, and also the source of their suffering. Biting them restored chakra and healed injuries. Medical ninjas were a rare commodity. They were abused. Karen's mother had been bitten to death by Hidden Grass villagers. Naruto took a deep breath. Hidden Grass did this to you? Karen didn't answer, lowering her head, feeling worthless. I'm getting you out of Hidden Grass, Naruto promised, looking at her red hair. I swear. Karen looked up at him. He smiled. Just hang on a few more days. After the exams are over. You're free. Karen was mesmerized, staring at him. It felt like Naruto was glowing. A golden light was spreading through his hair, through his entire being. Tai is going to bed early. Thanks to Fog City Dream Chaser, Luo, Code 9607, Kale, Monkey D. Pang for their rewards. Chapter 33. You will regret it. Please read and vote for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 33. You'll regret this. Please read and vote. Naruto felt a surge of happiness from his brief exchange with Karen, a blood relative, and she was willing to accept him. They both craved a place to call home. That was awesome. Naruto didn't deal with the two ninjas from Kyuzugaku. He decided to let them stay in Konoha with Karen. As for the issue of unjustified detention, Naruto figured out a workaround. He'd hire Karen to stay in Konoha and help with various tasks. That way, he could keep the Kyuzugaku ninjas around as part of the deal. The village that treated her like a human blood bag was an absolute nightmare. Karen wasn't going back to Kyuzugaku, period. The only downside was that the scroll they had was the same Heaven Scroll as Team 7, which meant they'd still have to hunt down other teams, but before they even started looking, prey came to them. It was a trio of ninjas from the Hidden Sound village. They were hunting Sasuke, intent on taking him out right then and there. Talk about arrogance, but their skills didn't match their boasting. Naruto used a binding technique to restrain one of them, then he let Sasuke and Sakura handle the others alone, giving them a fair fight. Sasuke crushed his opponent. With his 2 Magatama Sharingan, multiple fire-style ninjutsu, and ninja tool skills enhanced by his super-sharp vision, his strength was unmatched among the genin. Sakura Haruno, on the other hand, she struggled a lot to beat her opponent, taking a beating in the process, but she was thrilled she didn't lose. Luckily, this sound ninja team had an earth scroll. That saved them the hassle of finding another team. When Naruto went over to heal Sakura, she hesitated, Karen's words still echoing in her mind. She wondered if she should bite Naruto, and whether she should wash her hands first, which were covered in blood and dirt. But the soft glow of the return path snapped her back to reality, instantly making her realize she was overthinking it. Don't bite Naruto. After healing Sakura, they headed straight for the central tower. Meanwhile, back at the Hokage building, 2 Umbu brought back a shaken Enko Mitarashi. They delivered their reports one by one. Hiruzen Sarutobi frowned, picked up his pipe, and took a long drag. Smoke quickly filled the room. The news had him reeling. Orochimaru had sneaked back into the village and fought the Jinchuriki. What was he after? Was he trying to get his hands on the Jinchuriki? This thing was of the utmost strategic importance to the village. Did he seriously have the guts and the ability to try and steal it? Knowing Orochimaru, that didn't seem like something he'd do, and Anko said his target was Sasuke Uchiha. But how reliable was that information? What really blew his mind was Naruto. He could transform into a tailed beast, and he was skilled at it. He could even release 4 tails without losing control. How did he do it? When did he learn to do it? Why hadn't he heard a peep about any of this? Just then, the door burst open with a bang. Danzo strode in, glanced at the people in the room, and waved his hand. You can leave. I need to discuss something urgent with the Hokage. The Umbu and Anko didn't move. They waited for Hiruzen Sarutobi to nod before leaving. The Jinchuriki is out of control. As soon as they were gone and the door closed, Danzo blurted out, his voice frantic. Hiruzen Sarutobi shook his head. He's not out of control. He's still rational. Danzo scoffed. He learned to transform into a tailed beast right under our noses. If Orochimaru hadn't shown up and forced him to use that power, when would we have found out? If that's not out of control, what is? Are we waiting for the Nine Tails to escape from the Jinchuriki and level Konoha all over again? Hiruzen, the village can't survive another disaster. We only had one Minato Namikaze, and he's gone. He grew more agitated, stomping his feet. I told you before, you should have handed the Jinchuriki over to me. You weren't going to use it right. An uncontrolled Jinchuriki is the biggest threat to the village. Hiruzen Sarutobi interrupted him. Just because we didn't know about this doesn't mean Naruto's out of control. Don't be such an alarmist. Danzo's exposed face twisted into a sarcastic grin. Hiruzen, you're so naive. Don't forget what's been happening with the Jinchuriki lately. We never knew why, but now it's clear. It's the Nine Tails messing with him. They've probably been talking to each other for a while now. Maybe the Jinchuriki knows who he is, knows he's the 4th Hokage's son. He's on the verge of unleashing the Nine Tails. It could happen any time. Maybe now, maybe tomorrow. Let me take him. I promise you, he'll become the best Jinchuriki. Hiruzen Sarutobi gritted his teeth, narrowing his eyes. Is that what you want, Danzo? I regret ever letting you get away with so much back then. But I don't think Naruto will ever be like you say. He's a good kid. He won't be swayed by the Kyuubi. Naruto proved himself during the Mizuki incident. The mission report from that incident was still in his desk drawer. Naive, so naive. I told you back then that the Jinchuriki was up to no good. Danzo shook his head, his expression dark. Hiruzen, indulging the Jinchuriki is the reason he's losing control. Give him to me. He shouldn't. He kept repeating, give me the Jinchuriki. He couldn't seem to say anything else. To this day, hearing the news that Jinchuriki transformed into a tailed beast had him shaken. It was making him confused and frustrated. Hiruzen Sarutobi cut him off. This is the Hokage's decision. Danzo was taken aback. Not again. He clenched his fists. Hiruzen, I need to remind you that you're only the acting Hokage. The Emergency Executive Committee can remove you. This situation is special and involves the Jinchuriki. Koharu and En won't back you this time. Hiruzen Sarutobi was the 3rd Hokage and had retired when the 4th Hokage took office. After the 4th Hokage's death, nobody in the village was ready to step up. Of the 3 legendary Sannin, Orochimaru had defected, while Jiraiya and Tsunade were nowhere to be found. Kakashi was only 14, still too young. He took on the role of acting Hokage, a position he'd hold until the next Hokage was ready. That time stretched on, making this acting Hokage last for 12 years. Hiruzen Sarutobi's voice was calm, as if he didn't recognize the threat. Oh, really? But I'm still the Hokage, Danzo. As Hokage, I order you not to take Naruto. I'll handle this, and I'll explain myself. Danzo gritted his teeth. You'll regret this, Hiruzen. He turned and stormed out. Hiruzen Sarutobi puffed on his pipe, the smoke filling the air, obscuring Danzo's retreating back. He kept thinking, Naruto, how did you do it? How did you learn to control the power of the tailed beast without anyone knowing? He thought for a long time, then put down his pipe, took a scroll from the drawer, and slowly unrolled it. He didn't approve of Danzo's methods, and he was too ashamed to face Naruto himself. He needed help dealing with both Orochimaru and Naruto. A name was written on the scroll, 3 messy characters, Jiraiya. Thanks Lin Chin for the reward. Thanks to Ichino's Keyed and Flower Viewing House for the tip. Chapter 34, Toad Sage Jiraiya joins, please read and vote. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 34, Toad Sage Jiraiya joins. Naruto's team wasn't the first to reach the tower. Gaara from the Sand Village got there faster. Despite all the mishaps, Konoha didn't halt the exam or send anyone to check on Naruto. Only Kakashi dropped a hint. They also didn't pry much about Karen. 5 days flew by. The number of people who passed seemed to surprise Konoha. Another individual preliminary round was held in the tower. These preliminaries weren't team-based. Genin could drop out without affecting their teammates. Kabuto gave up. Naruto wasn't surprised. It matched his expectations. Sakura failed to pass the preliminaries, resulting in a mutual elimination. Sasuke and Naruto won easily. Hinata and Niji's fight amplified the Hyuga clan's internal conflict. Gaara proved incredibly strong, and Lee's performance was dazzling, but he only inflicted minor damage. Sasuke, gripping the railing, stared at Lee on the ground, lost in thought. With the duels over, the final matchups were drawn. Naruto glanced at the rigged lottery box, then at Hiruzen smiling from the platform. He casually picked a slip, unsurprised to find he'd be facing Gaara. He was practically the only one in Konoha who could handle Gaara. The preliminaries concluded. They now had a month off, but it wouldn't be just for resting. Naruto turned to Kakashi. Sorry, Naruto, Kakashi said, anticipating him. Despite the arrangement, looking at Naruto's golden hair and blue eyes made it difficult. I can't train you this month. In fact, I don't think I can teach you much at all now. But don't worry, the village has someone better suited for you. Naruto nodded calmly. I know. He didn't elaborate. He'd learned that affection couldn't be demanded. Those who wanted to give would do so freely, and those who didn't wouldn't, no matter what. He'll probably come to see you in the next few days, Kakashi said softly, glancing at Karen behind Naruto. The village has taken care of Karen's background. You don't have to worry about leaving her here. Kusugakure won't make any trouble. He then whisked Sasuke away. Naruto watched their spiritual veins fade. He'd already planned to spend the month with Karen, learning the Uzumaki clan's secrets, especially their sealing techniques, which he needed to know. He hadn't asked for much. He just wanted Kakashi to spare a little time each day to teach him some basic sealing jutsu while training Sasuke, but the village had other plans. Who could it be? Unless the third Hokage would train him, there was no one more qualified than Kakashi. He shrugged it off and took Karen home. That night, on a rooftop near Naruto's apartment, 2 figures appeared. One was Hiruzen, the other had white hair and an oil headband. Jiraiya, summoned back to the village. Has the Nine-Tails seal weakened? He asked gravely. Hiruzen nodded. He's been able to transform into the 4 tails without realizing it. Danzo and Koharu are giving me a headache. You've been away for years, so you may not understand. Naruto has always been a good kid. He's changed recently, but I'm sure his core is still the same. Jiraiya chuckled. He is Minato and Kushina's child, after all. Whose personality is he more like? Hiruzen paused. He used to be more like Kushina, but now he's more like Minato. Kakashi says he's a very mature and reliable ninja. I asked you back hoping you could train Naruto during this time. I also hope. He trailed off and sighed. There are too many secrets surrounding Naruto. He has 2 strange swords that we can't trace. We can't find any weapons that resemble them. He also knows strange, unrecorded ninjutsu. The Nine-Tails can't account for all this. But we haven't found any connection between Naruto and other villages. Jiraiya stared at Naruto's window. Secrets. If we knew where he got the swords and where he learned those techniques, Hiruzen said quietly, Koharu and Yen wouldn't be so anxious. Naruto could continue to live peacefully in the village. Jiraiya. He stopped, the window opened, revealing Naruto's golden hair. Behind him, Karen was cleaning the table. Jiraiya was taken aback. It was like a flashback, a kunai piercing his heart from over a decade ago. That red-haired girl? He asked. She's an Uzumaki clan member Naruto picked up during the Chunin exams, Hiruzen explained. Jiraiya nodded absently, watching Naruto say something to Karen before jumping out the window. It confirmed his suspicions. He found us. Hiruzen puffed on his pipe. Although Naruto has Minato's hair, he's inherited the Uzumaki clan's talent. He has a strong sensory ability. Umbu intelligence suggests his range is at least 3 miles. Certain concealment ninjutsu become ineffective when you get too close. Hiruzen stopped abruptly as Naruto appeared beside them. Grandpa Third, you're out late. And who's this? His gaze focused on Jiraiya. His chakra was immense, and he had a different aura than most. He was on the same level as Orochimaru. Hiruzen replied, Kakashi should have told you the village found someone to train you this month. This is him. His background. Jiraiya cut him off with a hearty laugh, forming hand seals and summoning a creature. White smoke billowed. A huge red toad with black stripes appeared, sporting a necklace that read loyalty. Jiraiya stood on the toad's back, palms open. The toad mirrored his pose, even his expression. I am the Toad Sage of Mount Myaboku, also known as Toad Sage, and Jiraiya is one of us. Naruto narrowed his eyes, studying him. Sage? He'd never heard of it, but, did he have to accept him? He's no ordinary guy, Hiruzen said, finishing Jiraiya's sentence. One of Konoha's 3 legendary Sannin. He's as famous as Orochimaru and was the 4th Hokage's teacher. Naruto, if you don't like him, I can find someone else. I could even let Kakashi train you. Naruto looked at Jiraiya with a changed expression, the 4th Hokage's teacher. He shook his head. This Toad Sage is fine. Please, give me your guidance this month. Hiruzen and Jiraiya felt a jolt. Chapter 35. He was not the only one who did it. Please read and vote for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The answer came way too quick. As soon as he heard 4th Hokage, he agreed, which meant, he probably already knew his dad was the 4th. Did the Ninetales tell him? Hiruzen Sarutobi took a long drag from his pipe, the Mizuki incident replaying in his mind, and their conversation after. Back then, he thought Naruto was loyal to the village, but now? Did he know even before that? He felt a pang of regret. Maybe he should have told him the truth then. Now, it felt like a weight on his back. Naruto finding out on his own versus the village being up front were 2 totally different things. The way things were now was really bad, but luckily, even with all these curveballs, Naruto was still standing tall, not some out of control, berserk Ninetales. He glanced at Jiraiya, giving him an encouraging nod. The white-haired guy felt a tingle on his scalp, scratched his head, and plopped down on the toad. Naruto, Sarutobi-sensei gave me the rundown on your abilities. Your swordsmanship's pretty good, and you know a decent amount of ninjutsu. What do you want to learn next? Or should we spar tomorrow? I could give you some pointers. Naruto nodded. Karen and I talked it over. I'm going to learn the Uzumaki clan's secret sealing techniques. Sealing techniques? Jiraiya mused, his eyes drifting to Naruto's stomach. That made sense. If you can transform into a tailed beast, you've probably butted heads with controlling it. Solving that had to be a priority. Then sealing techniques it is, he agreed immediately. Come to think of it, I've worked with the Uzumaki clan a lot. I know a bunch of your clan's seals. I'll teach you everything I know. But tonight? You just finished your 2nd exam. Get some rest. I rushed Sarutobi-sensei over here. I just wanted to see you from a distance, but I guess I messed with your downtime. Jiraiya hopped off the toad and ruffled his hair. You're something else, Naruto. See you tomorrow. He waved and left with Sarutobi. Hiruzen. Naruto watched them go. That was a compliment. one of the few he'd gotten here in Konoha, and it felt genuine, not some tactic or tiptoeing around the elephant in the room. He just wanted to say it. The word outstanding came from the heart. Naruto grinned and headed home. Karen had already made the bed. She saw the bright smile on Naruto's face and cocked her head. Why the happy face? Who'd you run into? Naruto shook his head, his voice light with happiness. He felt like an approachable elder. Even though he came back now. He seems okay. He washed up and went to bed. He dreamed well that night. The next day, Jiraiya came by the house, and Naruto took Karen with him to the training grounds. His impression from the night before was spot on. Jiraiya was a great guy and a great teacher. He could explain every key point of a sealing technique in a way that was simple to grasp, and he could pinpoint why Naruto failed right away. He always knew where Karen was messing up with her seals. That is, sometimes he wasn't all that serious. He'd even bum money off Naruto, the student. Sometimes he'd get drunk and hungover and show up late the next day, but these small flaws didn't change Naruto's opinion of Jiraiya. After learning the basics of sealing techniques, Jiraiya taught Naruto and Karen their first technique. Tail locking seal. It was a super specific and hard to learn sealing technique, but pretty useless. It was only for tailed beasts, and only for ones that had escaped their Jinchuriki and were out of control. Naruto studied hard. He could leave these for Urahara Kisuke. After learning that technique, the second was the Vajra lock, taught by Karen. The Ninetales started getting nervous. When he saw Naruto start to learn it, he started swearing. You Uzumaki guys are all the same. Mito was like this, Kushina was like this, and now you, Naruto. That reaction confirmed to Naruto that he was on the right track. During this time, Naruto also visited Rock Lee in the hospital. The kid with the bowl cut was badly hurt. His arms and legs were messed up, and bone shards had messed up his central nervous system. Konoha's medical ninjas couldn't fix him. Naruto's current medical skills weren't enough to fix this kind of injury. Even though he'd studied healing under Captain Unohana, it wasn't his main focus. The kid with the bowl cut didn't know how bad things were. He was super optimistic. Even though the doctor said he'd be bedridden for at least 3 months, he didn't regret not giving up. Naruto made a secret promise to himself. When he got back to the Soul Society, he needed to spend more time learning healing. After a month, Naruto had mastered both sealing techniques. The three of them sat on a tree branch, looking out into the distance. Jiraiya-sensei, I don't think I've ever seen you around Konoha before. Naruto's eyes fixed on the forehead protector with the symbol for oil. That forehead protector doesn't look like it's from Konoha. Jiraiya raised his hand and touched his head. You mean this? He went quiet for a moment before saying, I had a good friend once, but he did some bad things and left Konoha. Orochimaru. Naruto guessed. Jiraiya nodded. That's him. I always wanted to bring him back to the village, but I never could. Another one of our friends left Konoha a long time ago and never came back. Plus, I was already a famous novelist at that time. I was focused on my writing, traveling to gather material. Of course, I would gather information for the village, too. It's normal you haven't seen me in the village. As for this forehead protector, don't you think it suits me? Karen nodded, her tone a little disgusted. It really suits you, you lecherous old man. Oil wasn't just oil, it could also mean lazy or bathhouse. She and Naruto had figured it out a while ago. Jiraiya would say he was gathering material, looking all serious, but really, he was peeking in the women's bath or out drinking. At first, Jiraiya tried to hide it, but now that he'd been caught so often, he was confident, not a bit ashamed. Karen's comment made Jiraiya laugh and scratch his head. Naruto stared into the distance, thinking, from what Jiraiya said, Konoha's ninjas could leave the village. And he wasn't the only one who had done it. Chapter 36 The show begins. Please read and vote for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The joint Chunin exam's main event is finally here. These genin, handpicked for their skills, will battle it out for their villages. The Sand Village Kazekage has arrived. He's a ninja who's really good at staying hidden. He's wrapped up tight, only his eyes are visible, and he's not even leaking any chakra. From this distance, Naruto can't even pick up his spiritual energy. The Kazekage seems pretty confident in Sand Village's chances. He couldn't resist taking a jab at Sarutobi Hiruzen when they met. Pretty ironic, the the daimyos who came to watch from other countries are just treating this like a gambling opportunity, and they've all placed big bets on the genin they think will win. The first match was between Nara Shikamaru and Temari. Even though it ended with Shikamaru forfeiting, it was still a great fight. Their tactical game was awesome. They went back and forth, pushing their abilities to the limit. Konoha can still be proud. Even in defeat, a smart ninja is a treasure, and one like Shikamaru is even rarer. The second match is the one everyone's been waiting for, Gaara vs Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto stood in the arena, he soaked in the cheers and looked around. Konoha's guards were keeping order, but there were ANBU ninjas scattered throughout the arena. They were on high alert, but not in huge numbers. Both Kakashi and Rock Lee's teacher, Might Guy, looked serious. The examiner for the third match was supposed to be Hayate Gecko, the one who looked sick all the time, but now it's Shiranui Genma. And there's no sign of Hayate's chakra anywhere in the arena. What's going on? What made Konoha react like this? You smell delicious, Gaara said, his chakra flaring as sand poured out of his gourd. I've wanted to get at you for a while now, but I never had the chance. Mom will love your blood. Naruto was caught off guard. Is he talking to the sand? He focused. There was a faint, steady, but really weird chakra signature in the flowing sand. It didn't belong to the tailed beast or Gaara. Talking to the sand seemed to be causing Gaara a lot of pain. He covered his face, panting heavily. After a few moments, he calmed down, looked up, and said to Naruto, "Come on." Naruto didn't draw his sword. He stepped forward, and the sand surged to keep up with him, but it couldn't. The sand was a step behind Naruto's instant transmission. Naruto punched him head-on. Gaara barely managed to block, and the sand armor protecting him started to break down under Naruto's attacks. In the stands, "Naruto's seriously strong," Might Guy said, watching the golden figure zip through the flying sand. "What little Lee struggled so hard to do, he's doing it like it's nothing. And he's not even going all out yet." Kakashi nodded. Naruto hasn't even drawn his sword or used any of his stranger jutsu. "Naruto's not the type to underestimate anyone," Sakura said, frowning. "Something's up. He's testing something," Kakashi said softly. "Naruto seems to have noticed something. He's confirming a hunch." Sakura looked up at Kakashi, hoping he'd explain more. "I don't know what he's testing," Kakashi said, shaking his head. "His senses are way beyond ours." After a few more attacks, Naruto stopped and looked at Gaara, who was panting. "I knew it. What's the deal with the chakra in your sand?" he asked curiously. He'd never seen anything like it. The sand that instantly defends Gaara isn't controlled by him, but by the faint chakra he's sensing, but whoever it belongs to isn't even here. "You're really good," Gaara said with a sinister grin. "You can actually sense that chakra. It's the power of the tailed beast. Since you're so curious, I'll show it to you." He started forming hand seals, and the sand slowly gathered around him, surging like a wave. Naruto interrupted him. "That's not the power of the tailed beast." Gaara froze. Naruto went on, "We're actually the same. I've got a tailed beast inside me too. I know what tailed beast chakra feels like. The sand protecting you doesn't have any of it. It's a weak, but gentle chakra. Don't you even know that?" Gaara was momentarily distracted. The sand protecting him doesn't have tailed beast chakra. Gentle power. His body tensed up as he kept making the hand seals, but his chakra couldn't continue to flow, and the sand fell to his feet. Just then, a huge wave of chakra erupted in the sky. Naruto immediately looked up. He spotted the source right away. It was Kabuto Yakushi, the guy who dropped out of the genin exam and pretended to be average. He was wearing a mask and a black cloak, dressed like the other ANBU. Feathers began to fall. Like rain, a wave of sleepiness washed over everyone. "It's a genjutsu." A huge genjutsu meant to target everyone in the arena. Naruto made a hand seal and vibrated his chakra to break free, but this sudden attack caught most people off guard, and they fell into a coma. Only a few Jonin and ANBU guards were able to stay awake. Among the genin, only Sakura, Sasuke, Shikamaru, who was stumbling around, pretending to pass out, and Shino Aburame, who was so quiet, barely anyone noticed him, were still conscious. The Sunigakure ninjas jumped down into the arena. There were 3 of them, 2 of Gaara's teammates, And a Sunigakure Jonin wearing a dark vest with his head wrapped in white cloth covering half his face. He was the team's guide. What are you trying to pull, Sunigakure? Naruto demanded, staring at the four in front of him. The Sunigakure Jonin turned his head and ordered, Gaara, continue with the plan. We'll cover you. Gaara looked up, staring at the Jonin's back, then back at Naruto. Chakra surged again. The sand swirled and gathered, condensing into a massive sphere around him. The original agreement between Konoha and Sunigakure has been cancelled, the Sunigakure Jonin said, keeping an eye on the stands. You seem pretty worried about the Kazekage. His orders are to keep you occupied after Gaara releases the power of that thing. The ninjas from the Sound Village were keeping the awake Jonin occupied. Kazekage. Naruto turned and looked at the observation tower where chaos had broken loose. Are you sure that's the Kazekage's order, and not Orochimaru's? The Sunigakure Jonin was taken aback. Naruto turned back to face him. The Kazekage just attacked the third Hokage, and the chakra that burst out was the same as Orochimaru's. The Sunigakure Jonin gritted his teeth and made hand seals. I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you trying to distract us with nonsense? Move out. Temari revealed her giant fan, Kankuro's hand trembled, and two puppets flew out. Naruto stared at the four of them, raising his hand to his sword. 4 against 1. Orochimaru really thinks highly of me. But do you really think you can stop me? The Sunigakure Jonin gulped and glanced at the sand ball behind him. They're both Jinchuriki and about the same age, but what's up with this kid's attitude? Chapter 37 Shukaku. No, this is how it works. Please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Edited content. This isn't the spirit of a regular ninja, not even a Jonin. It hit Kanjiro like a physical blow. Kanjiro gritted his teeth and crooked a finger. Enough with the tough talk, kid. Two puppets appeared, flanking him. They leaped and climbed, radiating murderous intent. Naruto remained calm, unsheathing his sword in a swift arc. The blade flashed, the two puppets clattered to the ground, ruined. Kanjiro stared at his hands, noticing nearly invisible silk threads. The chakra lines were severed, but he couldn't focus on that. A massive pressure slammed down, forcing him to kneel, head bowed. What the heck is this? It was just sheer force of presence. He couldn't even stand in front of Naruto. And he wasn't alone. Temari's giant fan clanged to the ground. She gripped it for support, barely managing to stay upright. The Sand Village ninja looked on in disbelief. He sucked in a breath, channeling chakra to resist the overwhelming force, to fight back against the fatal pressure coming from the blonde kid. That power earlier was just the contained force of the sword. This was its true edge. I just drew my sword, and you can't even stand, Naruto said, holding the blade level. The Sand Village ninja gritted his teeth, extending his hands with difficulty to push Temari and Kankuro away. You two fall back. He's not someone you can handle. Only Gaara, using that guy's power in his sleep, could possibly compete with him. Just then, several Konoha ninjas arrived. Shiranui-gunma was in the lead. Their landing was a bit awkward. They hadn't expected the oppressive aura around Naruto, which was disrupting their chakra flow. Uzumaki Naruto, he began, only managing to state his name, unsure what else to say. He had intended to tell Naruto to retreat, but now, this kid was clearly stronger than him. Leave this to me, Naruto said, turning and smiling. Go help the others. Understood. Shiranui-gunma nodded, winking at the rest. They slowly moved out of the range of Naruto's oppressive force. Oh, and, Naruto added, the one who cast the illusion earlier was a Konoha ninja named Kabuto Yakushi. Be careful around him. He's probably Jonin level. Shiranui-gunma wasn't surprised by the name Kabuto Yakushi. At this point, a genin who had deserted at a crucial moment 7 years ago was too conspicuous. They'd already investigated. But hearing that Kabuto Yakushi was Jonin level stunned him. He nodded. I understand. Naruto, be careful. He backed away, keeping his eyes fixed on the blonde ninja's back. 12 years had passed, and once again, a figure like this stood before him. Maki's forehead glistened with sweat. You seem weighed down. Can you even perform ninjutsu? Naruto's gaze shifted back to him. Back off. Maki raised a hand, forcing a smile. What are you talking about? I'm not weighed down at all. My chakra's flowing fine. Just, a little intimidated. He formed a hand seal, channeling chakra. Airflow swirled rapidly around his fingertips, creating a gust of wind. He darted forward instantly, blade extended. He was even faster than Zabuza, but this technique, which once allowed him to hunt Konoha's special ninja Hayate Gecko, was no match for Naruto. The wind blade clashed with the blade, lightning flashed. After a few exchanges, Maki paused, looking down. A crimson blade had pierced his chest. Chakra grew difficult to control, and the wind blade in his hand dissipated. He turned his head, the sand gourd bubbled, and a strange chakra surged violently. This brought Maki a small measure of comfort. Facing someone this strong, his own abilities were still a bit lacking. He couldn't buy enough time, but the sleeping technique was complete, and that guy would emerge, and his mission would be accomplished. Naruto ignored the one tail that was about to be released. His senses picked up on something more important. He looked up suddenly, focusing on the watchtower where Orochimaru's chakra had first erupted. The roof was now covered by a translucent purple barrier. Only Sarutobi Hiruzen and Orochimaru were inside, along with two bizarre chakras. These two chakras weren't the main issue, it was how they appeared. He seemed to sense a different aura than chakra, a fluctuation more like a soul. Soul. Soul, that it was the new chakra brought by the new soul. He stared in that direction, his eyes wide with disbelief. He hadn't encountered souls in Konoha, not in all this time, not even in the Forest of Death, where so many had perished, had he seen souls floating free. But just now, even though it was fleeting, he had felt it, he was sure of it. It was the power of a soul. Inside the gourd, two giant tanuki tore it apart with their claws, bursting out with wild, triumphant laughter. Ha ha ha, I'm finally free. Damn humans, sealing me away for so long. It began unleashing its power. The shadow grew taller and faster, engulfing the entire arena. The khaki-colored tanuki grinned. The ninjas who hadn't retreated yet stared in horror, letting out piercing screams. Even those actively fighting couldn't help but gawk. Naruto's attention was drawn back. So this was the true form of the tailed beast. He needed to deal with this first. He sheathed his blade, clasped his hands together. Time to test what he'd just learned. Adamantine sealing chains. Dozens of golden chains erupted from his back, whistling through the air, and wrapped around the enormous tanuki. Shukaku looked down at the chains binding its body. It was a familiar scent. Adamantine sealing chains. It shrieked, thrashing. The immense body caused the chains to creak, but the more it struggled, the tighter the golden bonds became. With a bang, the chains weighed it down, and it crashed to the ground. Its head scraped against the earth. Shukaku's hateful eyes locked onto Naruto. A golden-haired Uzumaki. You little brat, how do you possess so much chakra? Naruto clapped his hands, creating a shadow clone. I was hoping Kyuubi would catch up with you. But sorry, I don't have time right now. I have more important things to witness. Please go back. Together, several shadow clones formed the tailed beast sealing technique hand sign. The curse mark spread from their palms, surging into Shukaku's massive form. It writhed and twisted, becoming a sand-like chakra that flowed back toward Gaara's body. Damn Uzumaki brat, Shukaku cursed. It had just been released, and its physical form hadn't even completely solidified. It had barely taken a few breaths of fresh air, and now, caught off guard, it was helpless against this power that suppressed it. Gaara, who had just fallen asleep, opened his eyes in confusion. Waking up, Temari and Kankuro, who hadn't left, watched the scene in horror. Shukaku was a huge pain. After being released, it had failed to destroy Konoha as planned, and was sealed back up in the blink of an eye. What technique was that? Chapter 38, The Demonic Seal. Please read and vote. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 38, Shiki Fujin. Please read, please vote. More than the technique itself, what really mattered was what was happening right now. Shukaku was sealed, and Mr. Maki had fallen. Gaara was next. Kankuro gritted his teeth, hurling a kunai wrapped in explosive tags, the sizzling of the fuse cutting through the air, but the attack was useless. Naruto simply raised his hand, and a bolt of white lightning crackled. Hado 4, White Thunder. It detonated in mid-air, a puff of smoke erupting into a ball. Temari burst through the smoke screen. The surge of power propelled her in front of Gaara, but now that the explosive force was spent, she could barely stand, relying solely on her fan for support. Fear flashed in her eyes, but she stood firm, refusing to back down. You can barely stand. What makes you think you can stop me? Naruto's voice was soft, his hand instinctively moving to the hilt of his weapon. His breath deepened, and he advanced with unwavering focus. Temari buckled under the immense pressure, her knees threatening to give way. Clutching the fan, she struggled to stay upright. You. The strain made it hard to even speak. She practically had to scream to force the words out. I'm Gaara's sister. She heaved upward, her legs trembling with the effort. Gaara, lying on the ground, stared blankly at Temari's back, his expression unreadable. If you want to hurt him, you'll have to go through me. As she yelled the final word, it seemed her struggle had paid off. She managed to stand tall, but then, Temari froze, staring at Naruto in disbelief. She was sure of it, it wasn't her willpower that had broken through his oppressive power. The blonde kid had taken his hand from the hilt and eased the crushing pressure. Sister, Naruto said with a faint smile. In a flash, he was in front of her, raising his hand. That's a good answer. I like it a lot. But we're on opposite sides now, so I'm going to have to ask you to stay put. The sensation of his fingertips touching her forehead sent a shiver down her spine. One of the ways to bind is to block. Her body immediately began to twist unnaturally, her arms coiling around her, trapping her. Naruto lowered his head and met the red-haired Jinchuriki's gaze. Gaara, he whispered, there are people who care about you. Gaara looked away, inching silently toward Temari. Naruto vanished. First, he went to the stands to dispel the illusion on Karen, then he took her to the observation tower. The roof was almost entirely covered by the purple barrier. Several Umbu ninjas stood guard outside, having tried everything to break through, but they were helpless against it. All they could do was watch as the third Hokage battled the traitor Orochimaru, unable to intervene. Inside the barrier, the trees were gnarled and twisted. 4 figures faced off against each other on the tallest branch. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood alone against 3 opponents. One was Orochimaru, his face once again altered, and the other 2 had faces that Naruto recognized. His gaze drifted to the Hokage rock in the distance. The faces of the 2 figures matched the sculptures carved into the cliff face. The first Hokage and the second Hokage. Weren't those 2 Hokage dead? Why were they here now? And why were they fighting Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage? Thinking of the 2 soul fluctuations, he had a bad feeling. Why are the first and second Hokage here? Naruto asked an Umbu beside him. The Umbu replied in a low voice. Orochimaru summoned them with an evil forbidden technique. Pulling the souls of the dead back to the living world and controlling them. Naruto wasn't surprised by the Umbu's answer. He was simply confirming a suspicion. But another thought, one even more disturbing, crossed his mind. Are there just those 2 Hokage? Did Orochimaru try to summon anyone else? Konoha had 4 Hokage, and only one was still alive. 2/3 of the dead had appeared here. The Umbu seemed surprised by the question, but answered nonetheless. Orochimaru seemed to want to summon a 3rd dead person, but the Hokage stopped him. The 3rd dead. Naruto clenched his fists, his pupils dilating, rage ignited, burning hot. His worst fears had been confirmed. This guy was toying with the souls of the dead. How dare he? Inside the barrier, Naruto's arrival hadn't gone unnoticed. Oh, the Jinchuriki brat is here too, Orochimaru grinned. Teacher Sarutobi, I didn't think we'd have such an interesting audience. He flicked his tongue, licking his lips. I'm very interested in him. Those strange techniques. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face grew grim. Orochimaru, are you targeting Naruto as well? Orochimaru turned his head. He's very interesting, don't you think? He unconsciously reached out and touched his chest. The wound from their fight still hadn't healed. It was just an ordinary slash, but it hurt like hell. But they had only fought once. He couldn't be sure if it was the technique itself or a special attack tailored specifically for him. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath and looked from Naruto to the barrier that the Umbu couldn't penetrate. His fight with Orochimaru had forced him to face a painful truth. He was old, fighting Orochimaru was proving difficult, and he had summoned the first 2 generations of Hokage. Even though their strength was nowhere near what it used to be, they were still at the Kage level. If this continued, he was sure to be killed. Rather than wait for death to come, he decided to use that technique. Naruto was still young and needed a role model, but he never imagined that at the end of his life, he'd still have to rely on the power of the 4th Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen created a shadow clone, mobilizing his chakra. He began to form a complex series of hand seals. Orochimaru sneered. Naruto's eyes widened as he stared into the barrier, his gaze fixed on something behind Sarutobi Hiruzen. A tall, translucent shadow appeared behind him. It had 2 horns on its head, a hideous ghost face, and a short knife in its mouth. The power of the soul radiated outward. Sarutobi Hiruzen's soul floated out of his body and was offered up to the shadow like a sacrifice. What was this? Orochimaru, I won't let you destroy the village, Sarutobi Hiruzen said, his voice now weak. Let me show you a technique you've never seen before. Let me show you too. The burning will of the Hokage, devoted to the village. As he spoke, the soul shadow behind him raised its hand high, and a tadpole-shaped curse seal covered its arm. Even more terrifying soul power coalesced in its hand, swinging downward, piercing Sarutobi Hiruzen's soul. The summoner, it seized the 2 Hokage resurrected through impure world reincarnation and tore their souls from their puppet bodies. The soul shadow's hand retracted, dragging the souls with it. Curse marks were etched onto Sarutobi Hiruzen's body. It looked like his soul was sealed within him, but his soul was gone. It vanished in a flash. Damn it, Naruto gritted his teeth, glaring at the purple barrier seal. It was in the way. He could barely see anything through it. Chapter 39 Death and Death. Please read and vote. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Naruto reached out. An Umbu guard yelled, "Watch out!" Just as his hand was about to touch it, purple flames erupted, clawing and biting, searing his fingers. We've tried, but we can't break through the barrier. The only way is to destroy it from the inside, said an Umbu, his tone cautious, his eyes fixed on Naruto's fingers. The burns healed almost instantly. Is this the power of the Nine Tails? Or the power of the Uzumaki clan? What about under the building? Naruto asked, glancing at the roof tiles. The Umbu shook his head. The barrier covers everything. Meanwhile, Sarutobi Hiruzen had grabbed Orochimaru's arms. His spectral soul reached out, seizing Orochimaru's soul and forcefully dragging it out. Time was running out. Naruto raised his hand. Back off. I'll try something. The Umbu hesitated, but seeing Karen immediately follow Naruto's instructions, they retreated a few steps. Chakra surged within Naruto, a powerful energy emanated from the blonde boy. He began to chant. Scattered beast bones. Spires, red crystals, steel wheels. Movement is wind, stillness is emptiness. The Umbu glanced sideways. Karen raised her hand to shield her eyes. The poetic incantation bloomed with brilliant golden lightning in Naruto's palm. It burned like the sun. What kind of jutsu is this? The Umbu gasped. He had never witnessed a ninjutsu of this magnitude before its full release. Even a glimpse made him want to jump back. Naruto finished the incantation. The clash of spears echoes through the empty city. Hado number 63, Thunder Roar Cannon. Lightning flashed, golden energy crackled, and a blast of pure power slammed into the purple barrier, causing the flames to swirl. It nearly pierced through, leaving behind a web of cracks. The 4 ninjas at the corners of the barrier shook uncontrollably, blood trickling from their mouths. The technique hadn't been completely destroyed, but it had been forcibly broken. The resulting chakra backlash severely impacted their bodies. Orochimaru couldn't help but glance over, the pain of the soul extraction not stopping him from exclaiming, "What a beautiful technique. Those 4 are the casters I carefully selected. Their combined 4 purple flames formation can trap even a shadow like our teacher. But he broke it. Konoha could never have taught him that." Sarutobi Hiruzen ignored his former student's taunts. He was also amazed by Naruto's strength, but he didn't have the energy to dwell on it. Naruto gripped his weapon. The Thunder Roar Cannon, number 63, was the most powerful spell he had learned so far. it hadn't destroyed the barrier, but since it had a destructive effect, it meant that a strong enough attack could shatter it completely. He prepared to draw his sword. Once released, it would be even more powerful than the thunder. Roar cannon. Naruto, Sarutobi Hiruzen said from inside the barrier, turning his head to look at him. He tried to force a smile as he called out Naruto's name. Don't waste your time trying to save me. This technique requires sacrificing your soul to the god of death. I'm already dead. Do you understand? There was once a great hero who used this technique to save the village. I can't compare to him. But now, I'll use it to protect the village. He turned back to Orochimaru, his breathing heavy. His lifespan and body were too far gone, he could only extract the soul from Orochimaru's arms. Orochimaru. I'm old. I'm sorry I failed to correct your mistakes as your teacher. But I'll never forgive you now. I'm going to give you a little punishment. I want you to stop your evil ways and leave Konoha's new generation alone. I'm confiscating all the techniques you've learned. Sarutobi Hiruzen declared. The death god behind him pulled the short sword from its mouth. Raising it high, it swung down with immense force. It severed the souls from Orochimaru's mangled hands. The death god panted, the souls of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the first and second Hokages, and Orochimaru's hands sucked into its belly. Its eyes glowed brighter, its expression became even more ferocious. The sacrifice, in both quantity and quality, seemed to satisfy it. Sarutobi Hiruzen mustered his last bit of strength. Turning his head to look at Naruto, a smile on his lips, he could no longer open his eyes, but that brilliant golden light filled his vision. He spoke, his voice barely a whisper. Where leaves dance, fire burns. The fire's shadow will illuminate the village and make new leaves sprout. Naruto. I'm sorry. He couldn't utter the last syllables, too weak to speak, but Naruto understood. He stared ahead in silence. The body swayed and fell to the ground, dust settling on the old face. Still bearing a smile, the ritual ended, and the chakra dissipated. The death god vanished. Orochimaru roared, You old fool. Why are you still smiling? Give me back my hands. Naruto tried to sense it, but he couldn't find any trace of the god of death. It had disappeared completely with his soul, neither chakra nor Ryatsu. He clenched his fists. That technique. I have to learn it. The third Hokage's words echoed in his mind. Except for I'm sorry, there was also the sentence. There was once a hero who used this technique to save the village. Since he was speaking to him, the hero must have been his father, the fourth Hokage. His soul. Like the third Hokage, was it sealed inside that thing? Where's mom? And what was that technique Orochimaru used? The evil, ghost-like god of death ultimately claimed the souls of the first and second Hokages. Could it be that the third soul wasn't my father? As Naruto was lost in thought, Karen approached, looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen's body. She asked worriedly, Naruto, could you see something behind Lord Hokage just now? She noticed that Naruto's eyes were always focused behind Sarutobi Hiruzen, not on him. Naruto tilted his head. Yeah, a guy the third Hokage called the god of death. You couldn't see it. Karen shook her head, and the nearby Umbu nodded in agreement. They had seen nothing. Those events, the Shinigami that only you could see. I'm afraid the jutsu Hokage-sama used was a secret, forbidden technique of the Uzumaki clan, Karen said nervously, tugging at Naruto's sleeve. A sealing technique called the Reaper Death Seal. Only those who've made a contract with the god of death can see it. Naruto, you saw it, didn't you? Her voice was filled with worry. It was an extremely dangerous technique. Naruto shook his head. I didn't make any contract with that evil spirit. I just have some special reasons for being able to see it. It's originally an Uzumaki clan art. How do you find the Grim Reaper? He refused to acknowledge or call that thing death. Karen sighed in relief and shook her head. The technique is too dangerous. My mother didn't know how to do it either. I've just heard rumors. She paused, glancing at the Umbu, and stopped talking. I understand, Naruto said, nodding. He looked ahead. the 4 purple flames formation had dispersed, and Orochimaru, whose hands were covered in festering purple wounds, was extremely weak, supported by the Sound Ninja 4, the prey was out of its cage. Chapter 40, You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 40, Orochimaru's Death, please read and vote. Orochimaru's face was grim, staring at the body, he ground his teeth, the mission's over. Let's get out of here. That he was spent, barely able to muster any chakra. 2 Sound Ninja hoisted him up and leaped away. Umbu gave chase immediately. You're not going anywhere. That the ninja with 6 arms spun in mid-air, spitting out spiderwebs that streamed behind them. The webs ensnared the Umbu, binding them. They slashed with kunai, but the webbing was coated in a slick mucus, rendering their attacks useless, only making them stick even more. Frustrated, they watched Orochimaru escape. The chant echoed in the air. O King! A mask of flesh and blood, a thing of all things, something that flies high and bears the name of human beings. The heat and strife are turning southward across the sea, moving forward. Hado 31, Red Fire Cannon. That they looked back. Naruto, calm-faced, raised his hands and uttered the words. The pause was elegant, yet terrifying. An orange-red ball of fire, searing and bright, condensed in his palm. He unleashed it, and it shot forth at blinding speed. Before the spiderwebs could even touch it, they squeaked and dissolved into smoke and dust. One of the Sound Ninja, a fat guy, stepped forward. He clapped his hands together, forming a seal, the summoning technique. Activated, and a massive clay golem appeared out of thin air. It acted as a barrier, protecting the others, but it couldn't stop the seemingly small ball of light. The fire scorched, the mud melted, chunks fell away. In a blink, there was another bang and white smoke billowed. The force of the cannon was barely diminished. The fat guy gritted his teeth, bracing himself against the impact. A massive explosion erupted, creating a powerful shockwave. Those behind him stumbled as they landed. Naruto moved with incredible speed, pursuing them. I didn't say you could leave. They tried to flee. Their steps suddenly became heavy, shackles seemed to bind their ankles, rooted to the ground. A jutsu? No. This wasn't a jutsu. The fat ninja, now prone on the ground, stared at Naruto in horror. The sheer aura radiating from the blonde kid was enough to paralyze them. What kind of monster was this? Naruto, Orochimaru said, turning around. The playful smile was gone, replaced by a twisted, ferocious expression. So eager to avenge the 3rd Hokage, huh? He did you a great disservice. Naruto slowly drew his sword. What's the technique for extracting the soul of the dead? Hand it over. You're interested in that technique? Orochimaru looked surprised, then sneered. Want to use it to see your parents? In that case, Naruto, we can make a deal. He stared at Naruto's blade, thinking of the burning agony in his chest, so similar to the feeling of his hands being severed. It was a technique that could damage the soul. Maybe, by studying it, he could recover his hands. Naruto shook his head in disgust. I don't deal with sinners who play with souls. Orochimaru, what makes you think you're in a position to negotiate? Do you even have that ability anymore? Orochimaru's face hardened as he glanced at his ruined hands. If it weren't for this seal, he wouldn't stand a chance. Stripped of the ability to form hand seals, a ninja was almost useless. That kind of jutsu that required no seals, using the spirit of words. If only he could learn it. Don't even think about hurting Lord Orochimaru. A voice snapped from the side, accompanied by strange chakra fluctuations. 3 hulking, humanoid figures emerged. They were unimportant. Naruto's gaze passed over them. The pink-haired female ninja's skin had darkened, several white horns sprouted from her head, and her aura had changed drastically. Her chakra was not only larger than before, but it also contained a more chaotic, manic, and higher-level energy. It was this power that allowed her to stand despite Naruto's overwhelming presence. She had gone from an ordinary elite chunin to a jonin in an instant. What was this? And she wasn't the only one who could use this strange power. A ninja with an extra head and the same transformations shielded Taiyuya and stood before Naruto. The 6-armed ninja grabbed Orochimaru and retreated. The fat ninja, originally intending to protect Orochimaru, was too injured to leave, activating the same transformation to try and stop Naruto. The 6-armed ninja moved swiftly. His abilities were bizarre. The Umbu were helpless against his webs. Orochimaru glanced back toward the battlefield, then, as he rounded a corner, it was out of sight. The curse seal, one of his proudest creations, allowed ordinary ninja to tap into incredible power, but could it really buy him enough time to escape? He could only hope. The six-armed ninja carrying him suddenly stopped, sending him tumbling hard to the ground. As he rolled, he caught a glimpse from the corner of his eye. A dark red blade pierced the ninja's heart. Thunder and lightning crackled. A silent, single strike. The six-armed ninja hadn't even noticed Naruto approaching. Jirobo and the others could only hold you off for that long. Orochimaru exclaimed. Tell me, Naruto said, crossing his sword and raising his free hand. What is that technique? How do you play with the souls of the dead? As he spoke, he abandoned the chant he had just begun. Hado 31, Byakurai. A triangle of sharp golden light shot out, nailing Orochimaru's feet and abdomen, pinning him to the ground. This is not good, Orochimaru said, straining to lift his head. It's been a long time since I've been pushed this far. If I give you that technique, will you let me go? Naruto said nothing, simply raising his blade and pointing it at Orochimaru's throat. Orochimaru chuckled, meeting Naruto's gaze. There was no escape. A substitute or clone wouldn't work. This blonde kid's perception was far too strong. He didn't want to die immediately. He couldn't fall into the hands of Konoha or Danzo. There was only one way. He suddenly opened his mouth, but instead of a tongue, a brown snake emerged, bearing a sharp, cold blade. Naruto reacted instantly, drawing his sword, but unexpectedly, the knife did not strike him. Instead, Orochimaru plunged the snake's blade into his own heart. He locked his golden vertical pupils on Naruto, straining to speak. Such a broken body cannot allow me to escape openly from your hands. But Naruto, one day, we will meet again. As for that technique, Naruto, maybe you will find it. Blood flowed, soaking his body, and his aura and chakra rapidly diminished. Naruto stared at the quickly decaying corpse, frowning. The body was empty, devoid of a soul. No trace of Orochimaru's aura remained. This wasn't a suspended death or a substitution technique, and that line. One day, we will meet again. Orochimaru didn't know that Naruto was a Shinigami, so, he had a technique to resurrect himself. So decisive, realizing that Naruto wouldn't kill him, only seal him, he chose to die without hesitation. He'd rather die than reveal that technique, or rather, he'd rather die than be captured by Konoha. Umbu arrived on the scene. They stood far behind Naruto, intimidated by his lingering aura. They were shocked to see the impaled body. Konoha's S-rank rogue ninja, the mastermind behind the whole incident, the one who killed the third Hokage, Orochimaru, had died at Naruto's hands. Naruto sheathed his sword and calmly glanced back at them.